Alrighty, guys, so now I'm going to show you the rest of our task list for the day, which involves reading. This is how we will read a story or an article or a poem, and then how we'll respond to it. So I'm going to introduce our story for today to you, which is called The Flowers, and then I'm going to show you what you will complete following your reading. We won't be able to read whole books in this class. Some of my favorites, like Black Boy by Richard Wright. It's a great book. But we will read stories and articles and poems. So let me show you a little bit about the story we'll read today. If you click right here, the story is linked in Canvas. It is called The Flowers by Alice Walker. It was written in 1973. Here's the story. It's very short, yet very complex. So I suggest you try to think deeply as you read, especially about what things might represent or mean bigger than the way they appear. So let me tell you a little bit about this story. This is our first story. Here's Alice Walker. She is a writer from the South. She's from Georgia. As you can see, she's an African-American woman. She wrote a famous book called The Color Purple. A lot of students often say they've seen the film with Oprah. So if you've ever seen the film, The Color Purple, Alice Walker wrote the book that it's based on. Now let me tell you about the story she wrote for us today. It's set during a time in history called sharecropping, in which men and women, primarily African-American men and women, still worked hard in fields for almost no pay. The main character of our story is named Maya. She's a very young African-American girl who's going to wander off into the woods, and we'll see what she finds when she wanders away. Her family are sharecroppers, meaning they don't have a lot of money or power in their society. I will give you a hint. As she wanders into the forest, it starts out innocently enough. As she picks flowers, hence the title, but she is going to find something a little scary towards the end of the story. See if you can find what she finds while you read. Now, after you've read the story, and these numbers are simply there to help you know which paragraph you're on. They don't mean anything besides the number of paragraphs. You will go back to your task list and open your assignment, reading response number 1, The Flowers. And that page looks like this. After we read a story, which we will do at least once a week, we will complete 4 steps that we call our reading response steps. You can see the directions here. To complete a reading response, you will simply follow the directions in each colored box, which means you need to write something in a text box at the bottom for each of these 4 steps. So let's review what's in each of the 4 boxes. Step 1, you write out things that you noticed while you were reading the story. As you can see, it says you write 3 things that you noticed. That is totally open-ended. It might be things that seemed important or strange. You get to decide what to write. Step 2, you write a question. So you might write a really good question that starts with a word like why or how or I wonder. Try to write a question that we could use in our discussion later in the week, which will actually be tomorrow. Step 3, you'll make a connection. You will try to make a connection between the story and your life or the world around you or any other reading you've seen, a story, a poem, a song, an article, or even a movie. Lastly, you'll try to think about meaning. Step 4. In a few sentences, try to explain what do you think is the bigger meaning of the story? What does it mean? Or is there a theme or a lesson for us to learn as the reader? Remember, guys, to write your reading response answers, hit Submit Assignment, the blue box, and then you'll have a text box. You simply will write 1 and write out what that box tells you to do. So, for instance, number 1 is noticing. You'll write out the 3 things you noticed. And you'll come down and write 2. You'll write your question. 3, connection. And 4, meaning. Just do your best to answer these. We will learn how to get better at this over time. Simply give as much detail and thought behind it as you can to get full credit. Again, we'll use these answers in our discussion tomorrow, so do your absolute best. If you have any questions, email me or use the class question board. Good luck.